You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh.
By the 30s, cinema had evolved too much. New technologies were applied to the films and the themes of the movies became more diverse. In the world, there was a tense situation, totalitarian regimes were becoming more powerful, and the threat of a new war was getting worse.
Camouflage is used to such events.
Finally, on September 1st, 1939, the war started. Germany invaded Poland, and after a couple of days, half Europe was joining the war. The USA took advantage from this situation as in the First World War. They started selling supplies to European countries and giving them credit. This helped them to overcome the crisis of the 29. As people had money, the cinematographic industry reactivated.
USA was overcoming from the crisis. Despite it didn't enter the war until 1941, Hollywood started making films against fascism. Movies such as Sergeant York, Casablanca, and Be or Not to Be called democracy before fascism.
Denn als unsere Partei
Hollywood movies were popular and easily spread in the USA, but in Europe the commerce of films was a disaster. The Eje powers controlled mass media in their countries and the ones that they invaded and occupied. European countries were very focused on making propaganda for recruiting new soldiers and persuading the population that war was good. In 1943, around 30% of the films were about war.
Ihr musstet als Partei in der Minorität bleiben, weil wir die wertvollsten Elemente des Kampfes und des Opfers sind.
Europe was very focused on their propaganda. They thought that mass media such as radio, TV and cinema was crucial for winning the war. Germany was a clear example of this. They had a specific group of people in charge of making films showing the racist ideas about that all Jews were evil people, that they are from a superior race and they must govern over the world. The man in Germany leading this propaganda was Joseph Goebbels.
Joseph Goebbels was the Minister of the Public Illustration and Propaganda. He was a very close friend of Hitler. Both had anti-Semitism ideas. He tried to model the German moral, making believe that they are from superior race, that Jews must be eliminated, and that the war was good and male must become soldiers. In 1943, he pushed Hitler to make a total war. The war also carried changes in the society. As men were fighting in war, women started to work in factories. It also changed the relation between men and women. Some films, such as Mildred Pease, filmed in 1945, and now Bojacker, film in 1942, showed this change.
Lottie, will you take care?
The role of women in the society changed dramatically during and after the war. The model of housewife contrasted with the reality that now women was required to work in the factories This also made a social change. Now women participated more in the society. It was given more importance to women's opinions and interests.
Also, there were made movies showing women as independent people. The most famous star in those years was Sadie Grable, that was part of 20th Century Fox. Other famous actors were Rita Hayworth and Simon Simmons. They made important films like Gilda and The Models. So, what do you think was the main characteristic of cinema during the World War II?
Well, if we talk about cinema in Europe, it was very influenced by propaganda. The government wanted to encourage people to join the war, so themes in films had very nationalist ideas.
You're right, Nico. Also, we need to consider the social changes such as women's roles in society. Cinema showed us how our society was evolving.
Well, another important characteristic in American films was that the nationalist fact was added. Since that moment, American films tried to show that Americans are a great nation and they are invisible. This source was very useful during the Cold War years.
I agree with all of you, but we also need to mention that cinema during those years was used to control people. Each country made films trying to persuade citizens about their ideologies, so we need to be careful about the messages that are spread through the mass media such as TV, radio, cinema, or even internet.